FTX was its own regulator, its own market maker, its own exchange, the issuer, right? All at the same time. This is such a and the hedge fund. Too much conflict of interest. First of all, he bought everybody. And and let me just make a stark observation. He counterfeited $10 billion in 1 year. But if you're in the industry and you have a modicum of common sense and some, life experience, you look at it and you say, what happened? Well, it's pretty obvious what happened. It's kind of like they got high on free money. I created a $100 million token. It became a $1 billion token. Then I could borrow against it. Yeah, I think that you have the Bitcoin community opposite the crypto community, and there's been a low-grade, sort of boiling guerrilla war between the two camps for the past 2.5 years. And Sam is kind of like the poster child of the crypto world, right? Sam makes billions of dollars on an unregulated exchange offshore. He makes billions of dollars issuing his own air token. He spends hundreds of millions of dollars giving to the crypto lobby and to politicians. And one of their messages is, Bitcoin is bad for the environment. It uses too much electricity, but not to fear. We have a staked air token, which does the same thing as Bitcoin, and it's environmentally friendly. So, we've always seen that going on. And I think that, the Bitcoin community would say, there's something ethically broken about being able to issue your own unregistered security, right? They call it committing the sin of shitcoinery.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So Sam and most of the people in the crypto world were always guilty of the sin of shitcoinery, or pumping and promoting unregistered securities. And that was obvious. So Sam creates, $8 billion worth of air token with SRM and FTT. Then he issues himself locked token, secret locked token, marks it up on his balance sheet by another $4 to $8 billion and calls it $16 billion worth of collateral. Okay. Then he goes shopping for a bank to give him a loan. What Sam did was generated $14 to $16 billion worth of Solana, FTT, Serum. And then he went shopping for a bank to give him a loan. But he didn't want, you wouldn't get a loan from Goldman Sachs on it. No one's going to borrow you money, at least no non-crypto company. So what he did was he went to himself. He runs a bank called FTX. He applied for a loan from himself. And they say, well, Alameda had a margin account, and the margin position was slightly bigger than I thought. What he means is, they pledged a few $1 billion of air token, gave themselves a $10 billion loan, and they extracted. Even if he had pledged $15 billion worth of air token, giving yourself a $10 billion loan means that you gave yourself about 100x the collateral value you would have got on a regulated exchange onshore. So what he did was, in essence, extract $10 billion of real stuff, dollars, Bitcoin, saleable assets, and he pledged $10 billion worth of air token stuff. I have 300 million tokens, and then I basically trade it with myself. Like, I give it to you, and you work for me, and you give it back to me. Then I lean on it, so I lever it up 10 to 1. On FTX, you could lever it 20 to 1. Then I borrow your money. You're a depositor, so I take your money. You have $10 million. I lever it up 20 to 1. I have $200 million. I buy my own token. I drive my token up by $5. $5 times 300 million makes me 1.5 billion in collateral. I post the collateral, and then I withdraw $1 billion of 100,000 people's money. I put it in Alameda, and then Alameda gives a $3.5 billion loan to Sam, right? He gave $3.3 billion to either himself or his personal family holding company. So here's the diabolical twist. I didn't just generate $10 billion of an unregistered security to dump it on the unsuspecting retail. That would take me 500 trading days, dumping 20 million a day, right? He didn't do that. What he did is he generated $10 billion in unregistered security and then just borrowed $10 billion secretly from his depositors, and then went and gambled it, traded it, spent it, lost it.
How?
And that is it's particularly impressive. The Bitcoin maximalist would say that the problem in crypto is greed, arrogance, and foolishness. Okay, anybody that's investing in it is either greedy, arrogant, or foolish. So there's three constituencies that got taken for billions of dollars here. The VC investors put $2 billion into an offshore exchange. The exchange, just to be clear, was unethical and illegal from the very beginning. It's illegal to do what they did in the U.S., and it's unethical. FTX was its own regulator, its own market maker, its own exchange, the issuer, right? All at the same time. This is such a and the hedge fund. Too much conflict of interest. I think Alameda borrowed hundreds of millions and billions of dollars from Genesis, from Three Arrows, from Voyager, from Celsius, from BlockFi. If I create, again, like yo-yo token and I manipulate the price up to $10 billion by trading 2% of the float, if you think it's a real thing and I act like it's a real thing, then I pledge it as collateral and you give me real stuff for an air thing. And so there's like $4 billion of that, and they went and they lost half of that. That was part of the reason that Voyager and BlockFi going bankrupt. And the reason that Sam wanted to bail them out is he didn't want to actually have the loans called, right? He was actually trying to buy BlockFi and buy Voyager with FTX equity, which of course is fraudulent and worth nothing. But if I borrowed $1 billion from a company and they want the money back, and I can simply give them $1 billion of equity, take over the company, and not pay the loan back, I can roll the entire fraud forward. And Sam bragged that they only charged like 3 basis points trading fee, and he was 30 times cheaper than Coinbase or much cheaper than Binance. So he's stealing customers off of the other crypto exchanges by, in essence, offering near free trading. He's not trying to make money off the trading. He's trying to actually get the assets on his platform, because once he had the assets on his platform, he basically used FTX like his own personal piggy bank. It's like there's $10 billion there. Everybody else is going to get wiped out if their margin positions trade down 20% for a minute, except Alameda. Alameda has God mode. They never get margin called. So in an exchange, like in the U.S., it's illegal to go more than 50% loan to value. That means you're kind of like, you start with $1 million, you borrow $500,000, you're 1.5x levered. Okay, well, FTX started with 100x leverage, and then they backed it down to the responsible 20x leverage, which means that you post $1 million and you can take a $20 million position. Sam basically, he scraped billions from unsuspecting investors in Silicon Valley. They should have known better. He took billions from crypto hedge funds and crypto banks like BlockFi and Voyager. They should have known better. And then he took probably $10 billion or more from depositors on his exchange. They have the best argument. It's like they were staring at terms and conditions that said he's not going to rehypothecate or use their assets, and he just, he lured them with the promise of cheap trading, high leverage. And, if you thought, well, Sam is manipulating the price of FTT and Serum and Solana, and he was, right? That's illegal and unethical, right? It's a pump and dump scheme. We talked about this before. But if you accept the idea that crypto tokens that are issued by some offshore, dude are okay, then you're thinking, well, I guess I want to go buy some of that and get behind Sam and Alameda because they're going to drive the price up. And I think Solana went from, $3 to, what did it go to 50? It went way up, and FTT went to $50 a token or something. So you could have made a lot of money trading those tokens, but you probably would have wanted to go to the FTX exchange because, guess what? Newsflash, it's illegal in the U.S. First of all, he bought everybody. And and let me just make a stark observation. He counterfeited $10 billion in 1 year. If you could counterfeit, you have a 300 million FTT tokens, move the price $30. Do the math, right? $30 on a token when you give yourself 300 million of them is 10 billion. And that's just one token. So if you fall off the turnip truck and you find that you can generate $10 billion in a year, what do? You go buy everybody. You buy every influencer, you buy every politician, you buy every celebrity, you buy the stadium, you buy all of Albany, you buy the government, you buy everything that's for sale, right? It's hard to find a crypto influencer that didn't take FTX money, but he hired everybody. Go as fast as you can. Well, how much can you spend? $1 billion in a year? $2 billion a year? They thought they had found the fountain of money, right? There is nothing more lucrative than a license to print money. This is why the Bitcoin maximalists just get so angry, right? They declare war on the shitcoiners and shitcoinery, or Bitcoiners never figured out. Their view is they're creating a shitcoin and dumping it on retail. But again, Sam's twist on it was, no, I'm not going to dump it on retail. I'm driving it to the sky. I'm never going to sell it. I'm going to use it to buy other banks, and then I'm going to drain the assets out of the bank by giving myself an under-the-table loan. It's so much more diabolical than just dumping a shitcoin on unsuspecting retail traders. So yeah, he did it. And he invited that scrutiny, and it was inevitable. He reminds me of one other person, by the way. If you want to know the antecedent, 10 years before Sam Bankman-Fried came along.
Yeah, who's that?
Joe Lowe. Third, I think everybody wants to interview Sam because Sam's the big get, and if you can get him in front of your committee, you get all the TV cameras on you. It's a huge media, score. And it's not very often that someone that stole $10 billion is willing to give interviews, right? And my thought about that is it's obvious he stole billions from creditors. He stole billions from investors. He stole billions from depositors. They're going to do 5 movies, probably 3 TV shows, 4 books, and there's going to be 1,000 lawsuits, and you're going to be reading about this horrific findings for the next 5 years on this thing, and it may take years and years for them to sort out everything that happened. And so it's not surprising to me that the wheels of justice would move slowly just because it's so complicated. But if you're in the industry and you have a modicum of common sense and some, life experience, you look at it and you say, what happened? Well, it's pretty obvious what happened. It's kind of like they got high on free money. I created a $100 million token. It became $1 billion token. Then I could borrow against it. Holy crap, I could borrow $2 billion against $1 billion token. If you could borrow $2 billion against $1 billion air token and it only costs $10 million a day to get your air token to double in value, wouldn't you be tempted to recycle the money you borrowed back into the money you counterfeited? So it just got to be too easy. And once they got to that point, right, they go from nothing to he's worth nothing in 2018 or 2019 to being worth $20 billion.